Welcome, everybody. We'll get started in just a minute.
Full screen. Right there. There we go. All right. Looks like we've still got a few people trickling in here, so I'll give it just a second before we get started. Handful of names that I recognize. Great. Okay, let's jump in. So welcome to our info session for the Protofacturing Hardware Accelerator here at Rev Ithaca, run through Cornell. We'll start off with a little bit of background about our program and some intros. So just we're going to talk through a couple of different things today. So team and philosophy, background, who we are, what we do, a little bit about our team. We'll give an overview of the program, the facility and the expectations that we have, and then the resources and things you should expect. We have a couple of different options for this program and how that all works out. So if you have been to Rev before, or if you are in our prototyping cohort, then you know a little bit about us already, but we have a mix of different people here at Rev, several of whom are going to introduce themselves in a few minutes, but a mix of engineers, Cornell faculty, students, experienced entrepreneurs, people that have gone out and started their own business, or worked with startups, and a handful of technical mentors as well. This is our prototyping cohort, so this is our everyday at Rev right now, but a good mix of people, all really interested in product and helping innovation get to market. Ken, you want to give your intro?
Sure. Hey, everybody. Some familiar names. I'm Ken Rother. I'm the director of Rev and the founding director of our hardware program. So I work with Deanna and the team on supporting folks in all of our programs. I'm quite focused sort of on the business side, quote unquote, of getting the business model right, the go-to-market strategy right, but quite technical also. And, besides this, I teach entrepreneurship at the business school at Cornell and involved in a number of commercialization programs, including iCore.
Okay. I'm Deanna Coker. I'm the associate director of the hardware programs. I've been here for 3 years now. This is my third summer with our prototyping accelerator. This will also be my third time with the Protofacturing accelerator, second time in its formal capacity. My background is more on the technical engineering side. Mechanical engineering is where most of my interest is. I do teach up at Cornell in mechanical engineering, but I have been worked with robotics and worked with some electronics as well as design, industrial design, consumer design in my background. So I like to say I like any and all things product, but I do lead more on the technical side and I lead our technical team here at Rev as well. I'll do a couple of intros for folks that couldn't join us today. So Hasan is our product development engineer. He joined us just a few months ago. He's a recent graduate of Cornell in mechanical engineering. He's been in our programs before, so with his own product, and he has joined us for the next year. He's really interested, like I said, on the mechanical design, but also has a little bit of experience in electronics. And Anna Knapp is our electronics specialist. She's our leading electrical engineer. She has a PhD in agriculture, so she also loves working with our ag tech teams. But her background is in instrumentation and has joined us in the last few months, and she's focused more so on the electronics side. So I handle most of the mechanical and everything electrical. I usually feed through Anna in some way, shape, or form. Sydney?
Hi, all. Yes, I'm Sydney. I'm the lead program coordinator for all of Rev's hardware accelerators. I'm an all-encompassing support person. However, if you have anything to do with mentor meetings, program schedules, etc., I'm your go-to.
And Destiny?
Hi, my name is Destiny Carrion. I am one of the newest program coordinators here at Korea, and I'm working on the hardware accelerators. I can also help you with a lot of things, but I'm your point person mainly for applications and all things program scheduling.
Great. Jen Smith, also, I believe, could not be with us today. So, Jen is our director of our food and ag programs. We have a lot of experience in food and ag here at Cornell, and a great pile of food and ag programs. So, Jen is the point person for those programs. If you are interested in Grow New York, the dairy product innovation initiative, or anything Cornell Ag, any types of connections with CALs, Jen is our point person there. So if you are interested in having an ag tech product, Jen is a great person to know. Okay, so that's our kind of high level intro of our teams and the faces that you would interact with in this program. Talk a little bit about our philosophy across all of our hardware programs. This slide is the same, whether it's our prototyping, protofactoring, or manufacturing info session. Our big thing is to push business and technology in parallel. I like to say that there's no point in having a great product if there's no one that wants to buy it, and there's no point in having lots of people that want to buy a product that you can't make. So everything that we do, we are constantly pushing, developing your business model and you're developing your technology in parallel so that they line up as you approach market. We practice lean startup and constantly involve the customer, whether that's customer discovery, that's customer trials, beta testing, all the way through the process. Involve the customer as often as you can. We focus on surrounding the entrepreneur with support and validating as you go. So don't believe that it will work, but validate that it will work and it can work with your customer, with your tech. So validate the whole way through, iterate and validate as you develop. So I'd like to take a quick pause here and say, well, what is protofacturing? What is the Protofacturing Accelerator? What is it about? This is a term that I don't want to say we coined it here at Rev, but we did because we looked at our programs. We had a prototyping accelerator, we had a manufacturing accelerator, and we said, people usually aren't ready for manufacturing right after prototyping. There's this big kind of gray area in between. So protofacturing is exactly what it sounds like. It's this messy kind of middle right in between prototyping and manufacturing, and how that fits into the pipeline, how it fits into the development of a product. So protofacturing is an in-between of those two, and we'll talk a little bit more about what specifically this program entails. So the goal here is to span this area, like I just mentioned. So we have our prototyping accelerator. You're making a lot of iterations, big changes are very valid here. You're still trying to figure out exactly who your customer is. And protofacturing is around this stage of you have built a proof of concept, so you know it's feasible. You're maybe approaching MVP. Protofacturing is where you start refining from your MVP to an engineering prototype and maybe some early engineering validation, maybe some pre-sales. But it's really about tuning your business model from MVP to actually now moving forward to can I raise funding and can I start doing some initial sales or securing interest. And on the technical side, making sure you can get ready for manufacturing. So not actually entering into the manufacturing window, usually not contacting manufacturers just yet. You're still developing the final geometries and the final things that you would need, but getting up to that stage of engineering validation, you've built an engineering prototype and you're starting to test, yes, this accomplishes what I expect it will accomplish, and my customers are happy with it. So to that point, we have a couple of different goals. The first is validating your business model. We are still focusing on the right-hand side of the business model. So if you are familiar with the canvas in our prototyping accelerator, we focus on what is the value and for what customer. Those are the two areas that we focus on the business model. And as we get into protofactoring, we really start to span into other areas. So making sure you know what your channels are, your customer relationships, and then branching out as you have time and capacity, looking at other areas of the canvas to really refine and hone in on something that is not just desirable, but also viable. Then on the prototyping side, we are looking to get ready for pilots and something that could be scalable. So if you haven't already, taking your prototype out, doing initial pilots with it, capturing all of that feedback so that you can start to clean the design up towards a finalized or a manufacturable design. So I like to think of this as the cleanup phase. You did the garage build, it's maybe all hacked together. You've proven that it will work, but it's not beautiful yet. Protofacturing is where you start to clean it up. You get it a little bit more customer friendly. Maybe you do some pilots with it, and then you start to refine that towards something that is more polished and ready to be manufactured potentially, or at least you've chosen the manufacturing methods that are applicable. And then lastly, continuing to refine those marketing assets in your pitch. So we do this across all of our programs, making sure that you have the resources and the assets together so that you can do maybe web testing or some sales testing. You can finalize your funding strategy. You can build out that pitch deck depending on how you're planning to raise and how you're planning to fund your product, developing the assets that go with that approach. So this is kind of, like I said, an in-between concept. How do you know if this program is right for you? Couple of different things. You have likely developed a mostly functional initial prototype. It's not perfect, it's not all-inclusive, but you have a prototype, you know that conceptually this will work and that the technology is there. So you should have prototyped something, you should be at a proof of concept stage. Not all the bells and whistles, but core technology you've proven out. You may be doing some low volume prototyping, so 3D printing, laser cutting, possibly low volume manufacturing. Maybe you've done some urethane casting or anything like that. That's kind of an in between. You've built maybe 1 to 10, but you're probably not doing more than 10. If you're doing more than 10, this program might be a little bit too early for you. You have evidence of product market fit. So that can be in a number of different ways. It could be customer discovery. It could be early pilot tests or user tests. It could be that you've gotten some funding in a variety of different capacities, or you have a funding strategy that is supported by what you're seeing. So different ways that you can prove product market fit, but you've at least gotten out there to know that the market does exist for this, and it is matching the expectation, it is matching the product. You should have at this point an idea of a funding strategy or some existing funding that will get you through this program so that you can go through iterating and developing and getting pilot ready prototypes. You will need funding to support that. At this point, you usually do not have manufactured product. You have prototypes. You have not done anything, like I said, in quantities higher than 10. If you are above 10 quantity, you are likely moving towards manufacturing methods already, potentially. So you do not have a manufactured product. You do not have a full team of engineers. Generally speaking, we have solo founders or people who are co-founders, maybe still building out their engineering team, but not a full team, right? You are looking for support, you're looking for resources. And you usually do not have manufacturers lined up. You have not put out any RFQs, requests for quotes. You don't have full documentation yet. If you have any or all of those things, this might, like I said, be a position where you'd look towards our manufacturing accelerator, or you might be too far along timing-wise for what Protofacturing is looking at. If you're not sure, I encourage you to ask or apply, and we will vet through that with you. We have a couple of different tracks in the program, and I want to note here that our tracks are generally just ways that we help connect you with the right resources. So most of the content in Protofacturing is universal. It's for hardware product in general, not necessarily climate, ag, or med specific, but we do then go through and make sure we're connecting you with the right people and the right resources for this industry. So climate tech, decarbonization of the economy, ag tech, specifically, we have a focus in the Northeast because that's where a lot of our resources are, but anything that supports or builds the ag sector, med tech, therapeutic, diagnostic, anything that's really looking to improve human health and well-being. And our classic track is generally anything else hardware, any other types of product that falls into the classic category. We do not do food, and I think that's really the biggest disclaimer. We do not do food, and we do not do just software. It has to have a physical concept, and it has to be something that is an item that is not a edible. So that's a little bit of how we think about our tracks. Climate track, the big offerings here, you get industry-specific mentorship. We have folks with experience in the climate sector and also a network of other climate founders that we can connect you to as is appropriate or helpful. AgTech, this is a sponsored program through the U.S. Economic Development Administration University Center program. It's a mouthful every time I say it. Their goals are looking to grow tech innovation in a couple different sectors. So looking to cut down environmental impacts of farming. So there's kind of a crossover here between climate and ag, food security and climate protection. We do again have industry-specific mentorship here and a variety of connections both with other founders and as mentioned, Jen Smith runs a number of different ag programs as well. So if any of those are of interest, we're happy to make connections there as needed. The MedTech track also funded, this is funded by the Build to Scale grant with the U.S. Economic Development Administration. It is in partnership with Weill Cornell. We have a handful of different MedTech mentors who have expertise in healthcare, both on the healthcare network side as well as developing deep tech in the MedTech space and running their own businesses. I want to mention here specifically that if you are not planning to release as an FDA approved device or not a clinically approved device, you are still eligible for the MedTech track, even if you are planning to go to market as a consumer product. And lastly, our classic track. Biggest thing to note here is that it has to have a physical component. It does not have to have electronics. We do see a lot of electronics in our program, so we like to say software wrapped in plastic. It does have a physical shell to go around whatever your software, whatever your electronics are. Software by itself is not eligible if it's just an AI platform, if it's just an app, not eligible. But if there is a physical component that goes with it, then it could be eligible for the classic track. But does not have to have electronics. We've had a number of different things and fall into the classic category. We've had sports tech, femtech, wearables, different social good projects as well, working with NGOs and things of that nature. All of this is to say that we'd encourage you to apply if this seems interesting and relevant, but don't worry too much about what track you might be in. You submit the track that you feel is most appropriate in your application. The same team is going to review all of those applications. If we see, hey, this sounds more like ag tech or this sounds more like climate, we will let you know. We do have different grant requirements, as mentioned, for the different tracks, so we will help sort you into the right bucket if we see an opportunity there that isn't flagged in your application, but it will not make or break your application if you submit to one track and we think you're in another track. This is for how we track our data, how we keep track of what's in our programs and making sure we meet our grant requirements. So this is not something to get hung up on, just something that is available to think about as you look into applying. So, what should you know about the program as far as the schedule goes? First things first, this is a virtual accelerator, so there is no in-person requirement. If you are in Ithaca, happy to talk about what that could look like or what that might look like, but all of the sessions are virtual. Everything will be on Zoom. They are Monday afternoon sessions. Almost always you're going to have 1 hour of a business-focused workshop and then 1 hour of a technical or an engineering workshop. They are almost always piggybacked in that way. You will have report outs. Those will be on Wednesday afternoons, so you'll have 3 of those throughout the program. That is a chance for you to give updates, for us to hear more specifically what you're up to. And we will run this schedule this Monday with the occasional Wednesday from the end of August through early December. Roughly aligned to the Cornell semester schedule. That is intentional as we have different students that work with this program in different capacities, but 8/25 through 12/8, December 8th. As I mentioned, everything will be on Zoom. If you are in person, you will still need to be on Zoom, even if you want to take the call here at Rev. You will have those virtual sessions on Mondays afternoon, so that'll be 3 to 5 p.m. East Coast time. You will also have monthly meetings with your mentors, and then we have the program split into 2 different groups as far as the technical, the engineering resources available to you. So regardless of which group you are in. You will have those virtual sessions and then you will have those monthly meetings and those report outs. But then you'll have different engineering resources depending on if you are applying for the development group or the advising group. I'll talk a little bit about what those look like. So, what you see is that the advising group resources are all in the development group resources. The development group has a couple of different things stacked onto it. So I'll start with the advising group. You're going to have access to all the main content, all the templates, assignments, assessments that come with that main content. You will have monthly mentor meetings, 1 hour per month. And then you would have access to an engineering review, 30 minutes monthly, if that is of interest. That's not a requirement, it's available to you if you are so inclined. All of those resources track over to the development group, but then there's a few other things to tack on there. So instead of those engineering reviews, you would have an engineering team meeting, either weekly or bi-weekly, depending on what we work out. That's for us to go through what's going on, what we're working on, what you're working on, how things are going. You would get engineering support from our team here at Rev, anything from 10 to 20 hours a week, depending on student capacity and availability and what is required. That would essentially give you what I'm calling remote access to our Rev shop. So you wouldn't have direct access to Rev, but if you wanted to 3D print something, we would be able to be developing the CAD models and 3D printing or anything like that for you. If you were in Ithaca, we would talk about full access to the shop and what that would look like so that you could actually work with us directly as is needed or appropriate. So the development group is essentially able to work directly with our team. The advising group likely has some of their own engineering resources and would be working separately, but would have access to some of those engineering reviews as they develop product. So slightly different expectations because there are slightly different resources there. For your advising group, you should have one main point of contact for your mentor. Typically, this is the business lead, whoever the business lead is, or if you're a solo founder, then you're all of the things. So you are that one main point of contact. But making sure you have consistent contact and one main point of contact for that mentor, not appropriate to be switching people out. And then attending your content sessions with videos on. In the development group, one main point of contact for your mentor and the engineering support team. Generally, those are the same person. In some instances, we have had that be different people. As long as there's someone consistent that everyone is interfacing with and it's understood who's interfacing with whom and we're not swapping people around, that is okay. Same thing, attending content sessions, videos are expected to be on. We would have more requests of you if you are in the development group. So I will be asking for documentation, or I'm going to be asking for you to go out and do some pilot testing, collect data, whatever it is that is needed to help support product development. And then clear communication of timeline expectations going both ways to make sure that we're all on the same page. So what would make a good candidate for the development group? What are the criteria that we're looking at? Many people are interested in being in the development group for the engineering support, so I'll talk a little bit about what that means. Things we look at, 5 different categories here. How much engineering support do you have already? We don't want to be in a situation where there's too many cooks in the kitchen and now we're all doing the same thing but in different ways. It's going to slow things down, not speed things up. So we look at what's your existing engineering team, how would we fit? So that's something you can think about if you do have an existing engineering team. How does our team fit with your team? Availability and consistency of core team. We are looking for people that are responsive, coachable, proactive, that are going to interact with us in a way where we're going to be able to move product forward. Product shop fit. So our shop mostly focuses on smaller scale. I like to say if it can fit in a laser cutter, usually like the 12 to 24-inch space, that's roughly what we can do here at Rev. Not a perfect fit if everything needs to be taken out to different shops. It's going to slow things down. It's not a perfect fit for us. So that's something that we consider as well. And what experience our team has in supporting this product. So product team fit, what expertise is required. We have mechanical, electrical design. We have some software, not a ton of software. So making sure that the things you're looking for are also the things that we could capitalize on and actually deliver on. And then funding availability and timeline. So we want to make sure that you are either coming into funding soon, you have a strategy for funding, or you have funding available so that when I say, hey, we're ready to prototype 10 of these, but I'm going to need you to go get them from this 3D print house or from this manufacturer, then you have the funding to support that. An example strong candidate, someone who has a two-person team, maybe both of these people are full-time. Founders have software and business background. So two-person team, full-time software business. There's a clear opportunity there for mechanical, electrical, or design, depending on the product. Product is a small plastic enclosure. It's got metal mechanisms inside, all fits into a 12 by 24 frame. Fantastic. That fits into everything we can prototype here at Rev. And you have 15K funding available for development during the course of the program. Great. This would be a prime candidate. Generally speaking, if you are feeling like you've got 3 out of 4 of these bullets, you're probably in a good place for the development group here at Rev. A little bit about the resources by group. So in the advising group, if you are providing documentation to review, then we can go through and take a look and give some feedback. This can be big picture design feedback, questions on manufacturing process. So like what might be an issue if I were going to try to manufacture this, or what manufacturing process might make sense. We could go through any of that. Troubleshooting, root causes, manufacturing feedback, design for manufacturing, design for assembly. If you send us any of that documentation with any of those responding questions in those 30-minute monthly meetings, we can go through that, go through what your ask is. We can send notes back to you, and then we'll meet to discuss some suggestions of what we might want to do, or things that we would suggest based on what you've sent us over. So that would be for those 30-minute meeting reviews and the engineering meetings, not your mentor meetings. Those would be separate. This is just for if you wanted some feedback from our team. If you're in the development group, we're going to get a little more hands-on. So not just giving feedback, not just fielding some questions, but we're going to set up a weekly meeting time. We're going to set goals as to what makes sense for what timeline. We're going to talk through how we want to handle documentation. How do you want to handle working with manufacturers? We're going to ship prototypes back and forth. So if you are in Ithaca, we can hand prototypes off. We expect that you may not be in Ithaca, and then we will cover the cost of shipping for moving prototypes around. Or you would be shipping stuff to us if you're buying from Amazon for us to work with things. Weekly updates, and then some different example tasks that I have of things we might do in the development group. So CAD modeling, prototyping, drawing sets, schematics, electrical mechanical testing, or PCB development. So slightly different, more hands-on than what you see in the advising group, meant to be that we're helping out more directly. The advising group, it's really just for if you need feedback, if you are struggling to figure out what should we focus on. We've done some more strategic meetings, but different resources, different types of conversations. A little bit about our facility. So we have a handful of different equipment here at Rev. Almost anything small, I like to say we can build. So 2 laser cutters, 3 desktop CNCs, a handful of different 3D printers, water jet, electronics bench, a Cricut, an embroidery machine, a sewing machine. We've got a PCB printer, a PCB mill, a pick and place. So kind of around the mill here, we've got a little bit of everything material-wise that we can do, just not crazy big. If you are interested in this program, the deadline to apply is August 1st. We are reviewing applications on a rolling basis. So once they come in, we will review and start to sort people out for interviews. If you have any questions, you can email the Rev email. You would likely get fielded by Destiny for any application questions. But if you have any questions about the program, we are happy to take questions now. Things I can tell you about Protofacturing. There was a question about things that are edible. So if it is food and not a physical item, then there are other programs that would be a better fit. If it is edible, even if it is novel, there are different programs that would be better for that type of development. We do not have expertise in food in the hardware team, but if it had a physical thing, so if it was a new type of device to make that food, if it's a novel process or something and it needs a supporting machine, then that would be eligible.
There's also, I don't know if you're local, Victoria, there's also a new kitchen incubator in Ithaca that might be more appropriate for a food product. So just something to think about.
Question about funding. So we do not offer any funding during this program. You get resources, mentorship, possible engineering support and feedback. There's options to work with an engineering student. Those are things that we could help out with, but it's no guarantee. That's on a case-by-case basis for students that have to be interested in what you're working on. We at Rev have connections to investors. We don't necessarily give those introductions out, but we do keep track of who's looking for funding, what are they looking for, what are our investors looking for. We do some fireside chats to get a sense of a conversation with an investor, what are they looking for, and a network of other programs in the area. Ken, I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add to that.
So yeah, no direct funding. I mean, the value of this program is the mentorship and the engineering support, which, is quite significant actually.
And Weill Cornell,
I missed that part.
there's a new question about collaboration with Weill.
So those kind of no, so in terms of the, Weill Cornell to test product in a clinical setting, probably not. I mean, I'll be honest. We have connections. We might be able to make some introductions, but it's not like we have a pipeline. I mean, there's a lot to that question, and Priya, you might have some background here. But no direct, if you go into this program, there's an automatic way you're gonna get your product tested. It's really gonna be on you to develop those relationships.
Funding needed to go through the program. So you don't need to have funding to join the program. The advising group, you don't need to have funding to be in that. You will be more competitive if you are interested in the development group. You would be more competitive if you had funding, but there's no requirement that you have funding. I would say in general, most people are pretty early stage. They maybe only have a couple of $1,000s, if that, to support what they're doing. But you're more likely to get admitted to the development group if you have funding to support your product. Flexibility to be online but come in person. Yeah, we have that happen in any of our programs. If people want to come in for 2 weeks, you want to work directly with the team, there is some options for that. It really just depends, but you would be able to work at Rev for sure at a minimum. If you were in the development group and you were interested in working more directly with our team, then it's just a matter of scheduling. But yes, for sure. Are your manufacturers New York based when producing at scale post prototyping? So we have connections in New York. That does not mean that many people in our programs have to use them. So we have connections with New York State manufacturers, but it's always up to the founders who they want to work with, where they want to produce and manufacture product. So we've had people work locally, we've had people work overseas. But yes, we do have connections locally post prototyping. All right. And outcomes of this program that you've seen in the past. So this is a new program. This is only our second year running it formally, right, Ken?
Yeah.
Yeah. So normally the outcomes are that we're looking for pilot ready prototypes. So Kathy, I'm going to jump in here because I know you're in the prototyping program. We always tell everyone you're not going to have something beautiful, but you're going to have proven out, do you have product market fit? Do you have technical feasibility, viability at the end of prototyping? And really what we are looking for in protofacturing is kind of now narrowing the funnel. You know roughly how to make what you want to make. Now we need to figure out how to make it manufacturable. We need to do some testing, maybe more reliability testing, maybe starting to think about, in your case, clinical trials. So how would you know what progress is there? Really depends on the product, but my goal is always to get to something that is more repeatable, ready for pilot testing on the technical side, business development side. fleshing out more of the canvas, more customer discovery, getting through a product requirements document, and being able to speak more succinctly to what you're working on, what your funding strategy is. But yes, these slides are trying to think. I know this, we're recording this, Sydney, and this does go up somewhere, correct?
Yes, I will get these posted to YouTube. If you registered via Eventbrite, it'll get sent right to you. Otherwise, I can send it to the prototyping cohort as well.
Any other questions? Had a rapid fire through them there. Take my screen down.
If there are no more questions live, also feel free to email us at rev@revethica.com. We can field anything if something comes to mind afterwards, or if you are able to review the slides and have questions that come up, or talk with your team, etc. Um, yeah, we're here to help.
We'll stay on for another minute or two here in case anything comes up. Oh, there we go. So applications window closes August 1st. Sydney, do you remember the deadline we had where we were going to get back to everyone, the hard deadline? I don't remember off the top of my head the last deadline. Like I said, it's rolling admissions, so we'd be squeezing you in for an interview probably like a week or two after your application, but I think the 8th is what I had in my head for some reason. Sydney, does that sound
Yes,
correct?
I've got August 8th. All interviews have to be done, and we were hoping to have decisions made by August 13th at the latest.
Okay. Ken, is there anything generally that I missed?
I don't think so. The sooner you get your application in, the sooner we can chat with you and, if we have questions, clarifications, stuff like that. So it's not an onerous application at all. It's not a big, huge application. It's relatively straightforward. Um, it helps us understand, whether you're a good candidate, and then we'll get you to an interview. So, the sooner the better.
The other thing I'll add to that is that if you do apply early, then we decide on the development group towards the end of that window. So if you apply early and you say, "Oh, I just got 10K funding and I want that to be considered in my application because I really want into the development group," like we do take that into account. We decide the development group at the very end of the full application process. So there's the only benefit to applying early is you get in earlier, you get the interview in earlier, and you would get feedback to get admitted to the overall advising group sooner. Development group we decide last. How often do people go through all accelerators? I mean, I could talk to the last few years. Ken, how often did we have people go from prototyping to manufacturing in general?
I would say more often than not. Um, well, let's put it a couple ways. As you go through this, there's a funnel, and the first program, some people fall away. The idea doesn't make sense for them. They don't want to go forward right now, whatever. But it's pretty common pathway. But at the same time, we collect people along the way who did prototyping in a different program and are now ready for this, or advanced to quite far and join us just for manufacturing. So there's no hard and fast rule, but I'm guessing back of the envelope, about 50% of people go from start to end.
Yeah. And I think when people do choose not to go through all of our accelerators, it's usually because the funding wasn't there, timing wasn't right. Most of the people that I've seen in the past few years have gone through the majority of the accelerators, as long as it makes sense for them. If they decide that they don't want to go forward with something, as Ken mentioned, that's usually when they fall out. And also why we have Protofacturing as a 4 month, so that if you get to the end of that 4 months and you say, "I really need more time to develop this," you have times to opt in and opt out to different programs. All right. If there are no other questions, then we will take the rest of questions that come in by email to the Rev Ithaca email, and we look forward to seeing your applications. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks all.